So let's manually set up a radial array. So I'm going to go under modifiers, and first we'll hit it with a displace, and we want to change it to x-axis so that whenever we displace it, we displace the entire object and not just every piece in every direction. Let's shift A and we'll add an empty of a sphere just because I like spheres. And let's select our object and add an array modifier to it as well. And we want to turn off relative offset and turn on object offset and actually pick our empty from the drop down list. I'm going to right click and copy the data path of the count for this particular object. And from here, I'm just going to select the empty, right click, and choose to add a driver for the Z rotation. So if you lose the window, you can just right click again and choose to edit driver, which is what I'm doing. And I'm just going to change the result to be count. And we're going to pick the cube. And we actually want a single property where we'll paste in the count that we got for array. And so in this area, we're just going to type in radians, open parentheses, 360, close parentheses, slash, count, and press enter. And so that's basically it. So now we have our empty and we have our radial array set up. And this means that if we go and adjust our count, we can actually adjust the radial array. And then from there, we could even adjust the strength to bring it in and out if needed. So if you think that that's quite a process, imagine doing it 100,000 times in a row over and over to objects. And so even when it comes to moving the object afterwards, you have to get a little bit considerate with it. So for me, I like to take the empty, parent it to the object itself. So that way I can actually take the object at the end and actually rotate it. We can adjust our scale. We can go in and continue to adjust our array. We can continue to adjust the distance that's occurring between the points, which increases the radius of the radial array. But just like that, that's how you would go in and actually create a manual radial array. So I just want to just kind of demonstrate it as a starting point to just kind of show where radial array comes from and its foundations. So with this radial array that we created, we did adjust the count, we adjusted our scale, we changed some of our parameters based on what we were seeing when we scaled things around, just like we're doing right now. So if we were to go inside HardOps and adjust the array, we see that the array is able to be adjusted modally by our own array system inside the dead zone circle, allowing us to get a greater degree of control. However, let's say we can press Control A and we applied our scale. We see that now we actually have kind of a Fibonacci formation happening with our array because the scale was unapplied. So whenever it comes to solving something like this, it definitely begins to get a little bit more tricky. So scale is also something to be taken into consideration whenever you're dealing with your radial arrays, because, for example, HardOps bevel will generally apply your scale whenever you use it. However, if we press Q and we look at the tooltip, we can actually see that shift clicking will bypass the apply scale portion, allowing you to get in and actually just adjust the bevel of the active mesh without actually applying the scale and triggering that cataclysm that we just saw. But scale is just another one of those things you definitely want to keep in mind with it. Before ending the video, I also wanted to try one other thing where I just added a new cube with Shift A, and we will select this cube and let's just press Control L and copy the modifiers just to see what happens. And so we copy the modifiers and we see that this object has now kind of arrayed itself into space very oddly. So even the process of attaching an object to another object's empty to try to get it to perform a radial is going to be a bit of a adventure. So this is also something that, you know, more than likely we'll be revisiting in the future, but just want to just show just how radial array works and how unstable it can be in certain situations and how you can easily just get things to go awry.